Hey guys, Don Maida with Transworld Motocross. I'm here with David O'Connor from KTM North America. So David, it's an exciting time of year. New bikes are coming out. There's always a chance for new KTM customers to come buy the bikes and ride orange for the first time. So I thought it'd be a good chance for me to go through some important KTM tips and setup tips and maintenance tips with you. So
Okay.
I guess first of all, you know, a lot of people get on their bikes and they never even set their sag, right? So
Yeah.
setting sag is important for the overall handling of the bike. So talk about the amount of sag you would want and the variations you can experiment with.
Okay, so on most of our off-road models like the SXFs, we're aiming for about 105 on sag. So you saw just a minute ago we had the 2019 model first day with Rich Taylor testing it. So it's really, really important to get your sag set. Helps with the whole balance of the bike cornering. Like if your sag's too low in the rear, it's not going to steer. If you're like a bigger guy and then your springs compress too much, it's just not going to handle over braking bumps, and you need to get a different spring rate. So look in your manual, all the guidelines are in it for your new KTM models.
So if you're above or below the recommended range, you should look into, again, a lighter or heavier spring, correct?
Yeah, depending on your weight. So go look and see and just get the bike set up for you. Really nice thing about, so once you do that, then our air fork is pretty much you do air up or down, and that's your spring change. So it's a really easy one chamber system. So just get your bike set up, play with it. Don't be scared to go up or down. It's the recommended is just recommended. That's a baseline for everybody, but you may be faster, slower, bigger, smaller. Just play with your bike and get comfortable and keep your settings. Yeah.
So experimentation is the key to understanding your bike and finding the ideal setup for yourself.
Yeah, even our factory team, like they have lots of knowledge, but they go to different tracks, different bumps. They play around. It's why we have full-time suspension technicians. So don't be scared. Them clickers are there for your use. Make your bike comfortable and try win races when you're happy on your bike.
Okay, now the AER 48 fork, air fork, you control the air spring with the pump. Talk about the standard rate, and is there any trick to working on the air fork? I mean, is it wise to bleed it all the way out every once in a while, or pump it up, push it? Is there any trick to it?
Yeah, so our fork, each one of our models actually has a different pressure. We work in bar, so between the 2018 and the 19 model, it has all new settings, so we reduced our air pressure, so there's a lot more comfort. So each model has the sticker on the fork. So look at that. Start off standard and then check and see how your bike is. Also very important on the air side, there's a 10 millimeter bleed. So once you bleed that releases the air from the outer chamber, and when that's not bled, it gives a harsh feeling to the fork. So it's advisable, like your old spring forks, when you bleed the 2 Phillips screws. There's one on the dampening side too. Just it gets hot, so release that air.
Okay. So it is, even though it's an air fork, there is still air pressure that builds up in it that's not good for the performance.
Yeah, so our fork, like the inner chamber is where our air is. The outer chamber is it's more lubrication for the bushings and seals, so air can build up in there, so we have the bleed screw to let it out. And you'll notice, if you haven't done it in a long time, you ride it, you'll get a big sis of air, and then the bike will feel so much different.
Okay. Other things, let's talk about, I know different bikes are different, but say this 450, for instance, what's the oil capacity on it?
Oil capacity is 1.1, so 1 liter and 100 milliliters. That's when you do a oil filter change. Another recommended thing, so when the bike is new, it comes with an inline fuel filter in your bike pack. It'll come with your briefcase. That's always good to do after your first ride in case there's any plastic or debris in your gas tank, so just change that out first time. First day on, when we're testing with Rich too, keep an eye on your sprockets. Spokes are really important, so a lot of people do spokes wrong. They'll over-tighten. So over-tighten is actually worse than having like loose spokes. So as you go around your wheel, you actually will have to back off sometimes, and then just give a little pinch on them and feel. Like a torque wrench is the ideal way, but if you don't have one, just feel. Over-tightened spokes is bad, because when you land off a jump, your suspension bottoms out. There's no give in the wheel, and it can break wheels and spokes. So just remember, don't over-tighten spokes. That's really crucial.
Okay. How long should you ride the bike brand new before you perform your first oil change?
We like to do like about an hour break-in before we go to media tests. That's just us trying to keep the bikes nice and new. You're better off to do like maybe 4 hours on it, then get your oil change, fresh KTM oil filter oil, and then you're good to go.
Other things, is there anything else to look for? I know one time we were riding our bike out here and it wouldn't start, and you checked the fuel line fitting and it had come unclipped, like something had hit it. Do you have any other, like, well, let's talk about that first, but
okay.
We're looking for any kind of sort of things to look at on the bike all the time. Keep an eye on certain bolts. Like every bike has its bolts that come loose.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So on our bike, one to check for sure is the sprocket bolts. Once you get them tightened down, like after the first couple of rides, they settle in, everything is good. Keep an eye on your spokes. And then when you do change your inline filter, there's a quick disconnect fitting. When you plug it back together, make sure there's no grit in there, blow it off. Make sure the O-ring's not torn. That's a part that actually, if it came apart, your bike can stop running. So just keep an eye on that each time you change your filter. Make sure your O-ring's good and there's no gas leaks.
Now, what about things to keep? What are some good things to go to your KTM dealer and buy and keep as spares in your toolbox? Like one of those filters, for instance, right?
Yeah, so have a fuel filter. One of the things, like I race myself most weekends and I don't want to have to go home because I tip over in a corner. I carry a clutch lever, brake lever, gear shifter, everything that can like fall over, get caught, dragged in a rut. Just stuff like that. Nobody's going to really, unless you're serious, have radiators, but all the small common stuff like, you know, if you're crashing with radiators, sometimes you're going home because you're hurt. So levers is always a good one to have in your toolkit, brake lever and clutch lever.
Okay, what about things like radiator fluid? Do you put water in it? Do you put antifreeze? Or are you supposed to put the special pre-mixed stuff? Or
So same again, we have the Motorex coolant, so we like to top it up with what the bike is filled with, so just to keep the same coolant in there. Yeah.
Okay, how often do you have to check your radiator fluid? What would you recommend?
I'm horrible. I check like stuff way too much. That's me just being a mechanic. Overcheck stuff that doesn't need to be done. Just maybe like once every time you ride, pop your cap off while you're doing your gas. Just have a look. If it's down, you obviously have a leak or you have like an overheating issue. A lot of times you won't have any problem whatsoever. Actually, topping it to the top is going to, like when the coolant expands, it's going to blow out the cap. So it's better to have just a little lower than the cap, then there's room for expansion. That's one of the problems people do is overfill, and then you'll see we'll run out the overflow.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things I admire about KTM's when I'm working on it is the air box, the side entry. Always real easy to pull that out and check it out. It's always a good idea to wipe down the air box. The side is easy to get at and clean out. You should clean your air filter or check it every ride, but
yeah.
How much oil needs to go back on the filter?
So we've had some bikes in our shop that people have borrowed and we get them back, and on a hot day or the sun will come in on the bike and all of a sudden we see a pool of air filter oil on the ground. It's like, oh, that's way too much. So you need to submerge your filter in the fluid, and then when you like squeeze it out, don't actually wring it because it will damage the foam. So just squish more so, get a paper towel and get all the excess off. So you don't want to have it dripping and then getting sucked into your engine because it just goos up stuff.
Okay, so you're talking about submerging. What do you think about the spray-on types? Was it good enough to spray the outside, inside, squeeze it through?
Yeah, same again. So once you coat it inside, outside, and then squish it in so the oil gets in the middle of the foam, you don't want any silt getting sucked through or sand.
Okay. When you bring a new bike home, a KTM specifically from the dealer, are there things that you should take apart and grease before you ride it for the first time?
Actually, our bikes come like with a generous amount of grease, so like if you took it apart, you'd actually be like, all right, I'm disappointed, it didn't need it right now. So that's a really nice thing. You can just go ride it straight away out of the crate. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you need to take a look at, like as far as parts that wear out, like chain blocks? I mean, what on a KTM wears out quickly?
Actually, all our chain sliders on the swing arm and chain block, they're really good. I'm trying to think of what wears. Tires?
Rear tires, right? So much
rear
power.
tires with all that horsepower. There's nothing actually that is a standout item that wears. Everything kind of wears about like the same time. I ride like myself probably every weekend, so I can get like probably 25 to 30 hours out of most of like brake pads, chains, sprockets. So depending on where you ride, like East Coast, of course, is going to be a lot more gritty and wear stuff out. Yeah. But here in California, the tracks are nice, so you get a long life out of your chain pads and brake pads.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks for watching the video. Thank you, David, for the tips and the insight. Here's what we're going to do. If you have any other questions about KTMs, leave them in the comments below. first couple weeks of lifespan of this video. I'll keep checking them out.
I'll check them out too and try.
And I'll hit up David, and one of us can reply. But thanks for watching.